Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Mindful Entrepreneurship workshop today. We're going to be having conversations around mindfulness, around healing and self-care practices that can support us in our business practice. As many of you have known, over the past few months, we've been working very closely with the help desk. So this is an opportunity to process your experiences and then really look at ways we can support ourselves as we move into Q1 and Q3 based off the information that we learned in Q4. And with that being said, we're going to get started with some community agreements, and from the community agreements we'll go into some breath work that really allows us to get centered and focused in our body. We'll have discussions, so you're definitely encouraged to participate. We learn from each other. I'm here as a facilitator but I'm also here as a learner. I'm always a student, so this is an opportunity for us to learn from each other, consultants, participants, wherever you are. Your sharing, like, honestly supports us in learning from each other, and then really just being inspired as we go into Q1 powerfully. All right. From there, we're going to get into some mindful movement. Again, all the things that we're processing, feeling it in our body, and then really leaving with some self-care practices that support us as entrepreneurs, that support us as consultants, right? And then from there, we're going to close out with a community conversation and any other feedback or areas and opportunities for growth and ways that we can continue to support each other through Help Desk. So I would love to hear if you can identify an area you'd like to see an opportunity for growth. It could be in your personal or business life, and how Help Desk has supported you in this area.
So I think that one of my strengths is being able to help people to was actually translating hopes and dreams into actionable intents. And what in working with the help desk has allowed me the opportunity to do that for other organizations, and so get to so that was just a great opportunity.
I'd say, as far as one of the areas I'd like to grow professionally, so I was one of the consultants with the help desk, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. It was wonderful, especially working with artists, and I have a long professional background working in management consulting. So working with small businesses and artists is definitely, obviously, great and fulfilling. One of the things I like to grow in is not only working with more small businesses and artists, but also tailoring the way I work with big companies versus smaller companies, and kind of because when you're a small business, you do everything. And when I'm in the past, when I've gone into these large corporations, of course, they have one person doing one thing. And so I felt like help desk allowed me to really key into a client that is really doing everything, like myself, right? But really help them to understand, what are you doing? What do you need to do? What don't you need to do? And what direction are you trying to take this business? And what can you do right now? And what is maybe an idea that's not yours? You got to pass it on and things like that. But I feel like working with the help desk, it really helped me to, tailor that a bit. So that was fun. That was good.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. You talked about working with help desk, and then you also talked about working with larger companies. Did you notice, was there any difference of, like, the impact that you had, or did it stretch you in a different way? I'm just curious. And if so, how?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think working with the smaller companies, you see the immediate impact because they are the full decision maker. for that business. When you're working with larger clients, they may be somewhat the decision maker for that department, but still they have to get approval to make certain levels of changes before they can even do it in their department. So it may take a little bit longer to see the impact of what you're doing. But you'll eventually see it, maybe, if they keep you on for however long. But with here, it's you get to see it right away. And but in both, the similarities that I see in both is sometimes that resistance to we all do it. We're entrepreneurs. We get attached to something about what we do. So we may be a little resistant to like let it go or change it. And you can see that in both. But that's a good thing, because then the passion is there and the dedication is there. They just need that outside opinion sometimes to kind of, help think through it.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's interesting that you bring up the resistance piece, because it also sounds like an overarching theme is like mindset. Is that, would you say that's true? Like,
Um, it's somewhat, yeah, mindset is part of it, because you have to like be willing to change. I think that the people who came through the help desk, they already somewhat made up their mind that they did need the support and they did need the help. So their mindset was a bit different than if you go into a company. It may not be who you're working with that hired you. So they may look at you like, what are you doing here? Why? And we don't need any help. We're good. Versus, here you have people, they've come and they're ready to, take it and roll with it.
Thank you. I'm seeing the comments in the chat. Ooh, okay. So tell me if I'm saying your name correctly. Ronte? Am I?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you. So Ronte says in the chat, trusting myself and my expertise, and being able to encourage the participants. So that's a huge one. And then you also talked about imposter syndrome is real. Can you please share more about what you just said?
Yeah, sure. Like I feel so I think it's a matter of I know what I do it well, it's great. I think when it comes to, and as much as I like helping people, is when it comes to being the authoritative voice to help them or to make decisions that in the long run is going to be beneficial. So when it comes to, for example, one of the participants needed uh, like a work plan to build out like a handbook. And she was struggling because she's like, well, I have all these things to do. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. But all you need to do is like cut it down into bite-sized pieces. And so hearing myself direct her was just like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, what, you know what I mean? But then I'm like, but I do this every day. So it's the self-doubt in my head. But then I just keep going and I finish the session. I'm like, oh, okay, that was great. Like, I made it through. I feel like former me, even like last year, I would never even take this kind of opportunity to be the voice of like, you're coming to me for questions and answers. I would be like hiding in the back, just doing the work in the background, chilling and doing it well. But to be a front face, a leader, is very much a challenge for me. But I know that I can do it and I know that I do it well. So it's being able to convince, or not even convince myself, but just like to silence the imposter syndrome in the moment and then deal with it later. I'm like, I don't know, there's a person I'm talking to, so you're gonna have to stop talking so I can hear them and assist, and we could talk when we're done. So that's kind of like where my head has been for all the sessions that I've had.
Okay. So does that person have a name that you talk to?
Oh, I don't entertain. I can't
Oh,
give it a name because then it'll
like,
become more real. So it's just a thing. It's a it.
it better stop doing it. So you just talked about like self-doubt, and then you talked about hiding in the background. I'm curious to know, what does it look like, and what does it feel to like embody leadership in a more on the forefront? Like, how has, being, as a help desk consultant, how has that supported you in other areas of your business?
Well,
Or
I'd say no, it has for sure. So right now, I work full time at a nonprofit research company. And so I'm one of, let's say, 3 HR people. And so there's a lot of things I have to lead on naturally. I've been at the org for a long enough time that people come to me anyway to hear what it is that they want to hear. And I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, why don't you ask, a higher up or whatever? And so I find that leadership finds me even when I'm not necessarily looking for it. And so again, like, so when this opportunity came up, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is like not a challenge to myself, but more like okay, you do this, like just go ahead and step out and do the thing and assist other people because they are where you once were, right? And so you could look back and be like, oh wow, I was 10 steps away and now I'm here, kind of a thing. And so reflection, I would say, is very, very crucial. It's something that I try to not just do once a year, but like it's very important. I think I told one of my participants is that it's very important to kind of keep track of progress because over time you're like, oh my God, I came far. But if you're like just thinking about it day to day or month to month, it doesn't feel as big as it actually is. And so not really sure if I properly answered your question, but I think for me, it's like it's showing up in other facets of my life.
boop. Yes. I love how you said, like, sometimes you don't see the progress right away, but when you look at the larger picture, you start
Mm-hmm.
to see things add up. I think that's beautiful. And I think that's also why we're having this conversation, is because we went through an entire process and now we get an opportunity to collectively reflect on that. Is there anybody fantastic? So I would love someone who hasn't shared to read this quote, because it kind of brings together what we are all talking about. Anyone like to volunteer?
Yeah, I can do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. All big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger. Roots entrench themselves and branches grow. And that's by James Clear from Atomic Habits.
Awesome. Does anything come up for anyone from this quote, or any nuggets that relate to what we were just talking about? And we're gonna be heady, but we're also gonna have opportunity to get in our bodies, and then we're gonna have opportunity to tap into our creativity. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I can say that, like, for me, that's something that it makes me think of a different, like, mindfulness and habit changing um analogy that I've heard of before, which is that basically as we perform things through life, we sort of we have a path, and the more times we go through it, it's like the wheels create like the ruts in the ground, and therefore it makes it more difficult to move to a different path. And so we need to sort of uh, uh, create ways to facilitate ourselves to get out of those ruts, because it's easier to keep moving in the same way as we've been doing before than it is to change into a different way.
Mm. Mm. Preach. Okay. Create ways to facilitate us to get out of our ruts. Josh, is there any practice that you have that supports you? And like when you have a moment, maybe when you're in a rut, like I would love to hear more about that. I feel like I'm Oprah right now. Sidebar. Okay. Back to the workshop.
That's interesting, because I think it can be like different every time. Sometimes it can be just as simple as like just recognizing that you're like following the same pattern, right? And sometimes that's enough to like get you out of that pattern. And so just having that mindfulness can be enough. But sometimes like it's about I like to think that like habit changing or any kind of like uh adjustment like that is really about trying to make it in your life so it's actually easier to do the thing that you want to be doing than it is to be doing the thing that you don't want to be doing, right? We often do the things we don't want to do because it's just easier to be doing that. And it's like an extra step to be, I don't know, running in the morning, right? Or whatever it might be, right? And so if we sort of adjust our the things around us, instead of us trying to just like hunker down and be more disciplined, it's like changing the things around you to take away those extra steps so that the easiest thing is actually the thing that you're like trying to do.
Unless, does anyone else have any thing they'd like to share?
I'll just share in the chat. I know you can't see it right now.
Okay.
I'll just share. Ronte shared, this quote made I think of day one versus one day.
Woo! I'm sorry. Mixing notes how y'all know. Well, y'all learn how I am, because I'm over here getting my life. I'm telling you, I'm learning and I'm eating eating all of this up. So what I'm getting from what you're saying, Josh, is that you're creating the conditions that support the outcomes that you're looking to achieve professionally and personally. So I'd like to take a moment to go on to the next part, which is, so this is our wellness wheel. And this is, if you have, well, for the next part, I want to give you just a moment to grab a pen or grab your phone and reflect, because we will get into some reflection pieces. If you have a journal, this would be a great time to grab that. So let me just give you maybe a minute to grab your journal or your phone, whatever works for you. I have my notebook right here. Awesome. So we are going to go to the next part of this activity. And I would encourage you to just keep some of these things in mind as we move to the next part of this video with my dear mentor in my head, Lisa Nichols. Hey, Lisa, how you doing, girl? Okay, so I'm just gonna press play. We talk every day, okay? Okay, I'm gonna fast forward it. Just give you a second. Can you hear it, y'all? Okay, thanks. I'm gonna fast forward it. And this is called keeping your dreams a priority, okay? And it's about 2 to 3 minutes, FYI. I'm gonna fast forward it, and then there's always a link that you could look back later to see the full video.
We're being daughters, we're being colleagues, we're being employees, we're being entrepreneurs. We're always being something that demands us to show up for someone else. The question in all of that is, how do we keep our own dreams, our own aspirations a priority while serving everybody else? And here's what I know. When you're good at what you do, and when you're just good, when you're just great, everybody wants you to help them because you're great. So don't be so surprised that everyone's always asking you to join their team, to jump on this assignment with them, to go this place with them, because you're amazing. And people want amazing people around them. The challenge is you are always in demand and you have to make a clear, decisive decision. And so when you look at prioritizing, it really lives in, and I'm gonna say this word, and you're probably not gonna wanna hear it, but when I tell you it's a game changer, when you master, and just for now, begin to operate inside of time management. I used to resist time management because I'm a free spirit / people would call me a rebel back in the day, meaning I didn't want to be controlled. I'm a butterfly. I wanted to soar. I wanted to be free. Well, the reality is that when you manage your time more effectively, you actually create more freedom. That was a huge aha for me. Somebody's gonna BOL right now, like breakthrough out loud. Because when you time manage, meaning I'm gonna use better blocks of my time. Let me give you some examples for that. I'm gonna use better blocks of my time, meaning I'm only gonna go on my email 3 times a day. I go on my email about 9:30, between 9:20 and 9:40, I go on my email. I stay in my email for 30 minutes. I'll go back in my email about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I stay in my email again for about 30 minutes. I go back on my email one more time at 6 p.m. I stay in for about 30 minutes. That's it. I don't go in 19 times. I don't go in 20 times, because 3 times a day gives me adequate time to see what's in there, see what's new, and act appropriately. Otherwise, it's throwing me off. I time block my day, about 90 minutes each time block to do a task. Even if a task only takes me 30 minutes, I time block 90 minutes because I get distracted. But when you time block your day, and then you schedule each day, not every day looks the same. I have a time block for everything I need to do for 7 days out the week. Can you believe that in that time, I got more things done? Now, I'm gonna post on my Facebook page my actual time schedule from 2006. And do you know that that time schedule took my revenue up 258% in a year, because I was more laser focused. You're not operating wide and loosey goosey and confused and hopping from one thing to another. You have a task, owns your time. Even relaxing, even reading a book, even just chilling, even having me time with Jelani. I have that in my schedule. I know that sounds rigid, but I spent more time with Jelani when I scheduled spending time with Jelani. And you'll notice on the time management schedule that I'll show you as an example that I didn't use workout, because working out does not inspire me. The phrase working out does not inspire me. But I would use the name that speaks to the result that you want to create. So when I was checking email, it said hunting for new business. And when I was going to the gym, instead of workout, it says snatching my sexy back. You can have that too, by the way, on your gym, you can have that too. And when I was spending time with Jelani, it says bonding with Jelani. And so create the name for the results you want to create in the world versus the process to get there. The process to get there is going to be psychologically draining because it's the process. The outcome is going to inspire you. So name your task inside time management with the outcome that you want to create. So that's how do you keep yourself a pro.
Awesome. And this video goes on and on. Let's all collectively take a breath. It's a lot of information happening today. So let's take a deep inhale and just let it go. Ooh, that felt good. Right. What are your thoughts about what she's saying in this video? Does it resonate? Is this a part of your practice, or do you have a different practice?
I really love the naming thing that you mentioned. Like for me, that's yeah, that's like mind blowing. That was great.
Okay.
Sometimes you get so caught up in the weeds, you forget like what you're trying to do.
Oh, I think we're gonna be good. I'm gonna skip this part, but I'm gonna encourage us to think about, again, as Mixie was talking about, as Ronte was talking about earlier, is just like what are those like small steps, right, that we can take. So if it's even just one thing to add up to the larger picture that we can take this week, and then even to the larger picture, what can we do this month that prioritizes ourselves and our business? Because especially as givers, as people that are serving others, it's easy to get so much in service to others, but this is an opportunity to say, okay, how do we also support ourselves while we're supporting others? Yeah. Would anyone like to share maybe one action step, maybe from one or two people before we move on to this next exercise? Okay. So for me, my next step is I'm organizing my entire house. I'm gonna just reorganize it. It always makes me feel like I'm productive. And so that's really helps kind of get the balls rolling. And then from there, yeah, that helps me kind of get focused.
Ronte couldn't come off of mute, but wanted to say rest. And I put in the chat, reflect. I feel like, especially at the end of the year, I tend to just want to power through and be planning for next year and not I think a step that I can take more is to really, like you said, intentionally reflect on the small wins.
Yeah, totally. And this is a perfect time to be reflecting towards the end and the closing of Q4, end of the year. This is a perfect time to be reflecting. Okay. Thank you. And thanks for sharing in the chat. Right now I can't see the chat when I have the slides up, so that's why I took the slides down earlier. And so we're going to move into the meditation, light meditation portion, and kind of close out. Okay, so we'll close out with the journaling prompts and light stretch, so we can get that all done in like 10 minutes. All right, so let's all just take a moment again to get connected to our breath. And just bring your shoulders up and back. Just let everything go. Maybe close your eyes or find a gaze. And we'll take a collective inhale through the nose. And exhale out of the mouth. Release. Let it go. Again, inhale. And exhale. And just kind of shifting gears, right? So we talked a lot about today of like what we created, reflecting on what we did, what worked, reflecting on our strengths. And so now, really reflecting on, just imagining today is December 2nd, 2023. So we're going from the present into the future. So it's December 2nd, 2023, and it's snowing outside. Okay, the wind is blowing. Okay, there is a snowstorm outside. Okay, and you're reflecting on all that you accomplished in 2023. So you powerfully entered into 2023, and now you're reflecting on, what have you accomplished? You're sending yourself gratitude for the habits that you developed, or even the habits that you strengthened. So again, we talked about rest. We talked about reflection. Over the 2023, you've had time to reflect. You've had time to, really cultivate the habit of, facing your fears and walking towards your fears head on. What are the lessons and now words of wisdom that you want to say to yourself? Does your future self get now an opportunity to say to your present self, right? So your future self in 2023 on December 2nd, what are you saying now to your present self? So let's take a deep inhale, breathe all that in, all that you've created over 2023. Breathe it in, inhale for 3, 2, 1, hold it in and release. Let it go into the world. Again, embodying that feeling of accomplishment, of purpose, of intention, of connection, of passion that you've created. And let's inhale that, bring that into our bodies. Take a deep inhale. Just notice you're feeling that energy, that intention in through your entire body, and then exhale, let it go. And we'll do that again once more. Inhale, breathe it in. And exhale, let it go. So this exercise was meant to be a little bit longer, but before you come back into the room, you're gonna grab your paper or your phone, or you might just want to contemplate, think about it for a moment. And this is your journal entry, and I would definitely encourage you to do this and expand on this outside of this workshop. Is what advice is your future self giving to your present self? And what resonated with me deeply today was what Pamela said, is this walk run towards those fears. So what is your future self in 2023 saying to your present self? What are those words that you need to hear? Maybe those words are, hey, be grateful. You are not your work, or you can move with intention and also create opportunities for rest. Whatever that is that you need to hear, I would encourage you to take the next 2 minutes to write that out, or maybe even list it out, or just process it for a moment. And maybe you're writing, maybe you're listing, maybe you're reflecting, maybe you're just closing your eyes and just taking it all in. Wherever you're at is where you're supposed to be in this moment. Just find your comfort on your chair or wherever you are. Maybe reach your arms up. Soften the shoulders, lengthen through the fingertips, and then exhale, cactus the arms, open up the heart space here. And then inhale, reaching the arms up, send that energy up through the fingertips. And then exhale, cactus those arms again. Soften the shoulders. Breathe, inhale, reach up, and then exhale, release the arms to the side. And then just bring your shoulders up and back. Breathe here. And just let go. And then inhale, reach your right arm up and then cross it over your left thigh. And maybe if you have your chair, use that other arm to hold onto the chair. And then inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist. Looking over your left shoulder. Breathe here. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist. Inhale, reach up, come back to center. Reach the arms up and over. Soften the shoulders. Lengthen through the fingertips. Beautiful. And we'll cactus the arms. Open the heart space. Creating availability, openness. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, place the left hand. Bring the right hand down. And then bring the other hand over the right knee. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist. Connecting back to the present moment. Inhale, come back to center. And we'll take 2 breaths. Inhale. And exhale, let it out. Inhale. Exhale. And maybe bring your hands at heart center. Find a gaze or close your eyes. And I'm going to read this quote by Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. We'll close out with 1 breath. Inhale. Exhale, let it go. And gently, when you're ready, come back to the room, come back to your space. And we got 1 minute for 1 word. And you can choose a word that describes how you're feeling or what you're creating moving into the new year, aka Q1. And my word is creativity and 2 words, creativity and innovation.
I am bringing into the new year freedom.
Yes, I am bringing into the new year just ease and flow.
I am bringing into the new year harmony.
I am bringing into the new year ambition and sunshine.
Well, please clap it up for yourselves. Thank you so much for attending this workshop. Yes.